Milton Mo Junction, where we continue the saga of building the scenery along this end. As you can see, I've made a start on it. First off, I've got to say I'm sorry that I haven't put anything up for a while. That's I've been busy and I've had visitors or had family staying with us, so I couldn't really do anything. Plus I've been busy doing other things. But I finally managed to get up here and do some work. Now, as I'd mentioned before, I couldn't make up my mind what to do to sort of act as a barrier as the trains went through the back scene and off the scenery layout. I was going to put something quite tall, either a building or a hill, but I found out when I started sort of doing it that in O gauge any hill or building takes up quite a bit of footprint, and that meant that to make it high you have to have quite a big footprint, and the higher you go you tend to have a bigger footprint. That goes for buildings and hillsides. What I wanted to do, if I come along here now, is where the digger is, I wanted to put some sort of working area, and as you can see they've got to be a turnaround, so I couldn't have the gap there much smaller. So I did lay out this piece of shaper sheet I'd already made up on my old layout and shaped it and just put it there. It was a little lower than that, and I just wanted to see what it would look like. And the strange thing was, it wasn't really too bad. I think I was sort of thinking I had to cover that hole up completely, and to be honest, it doesn't really need that, because I put scenery and a back seam underneath the gap. It's not as bad as I was thinking, so I didn't need it quite as high. So what I decided to do was I did buy some foam bits, so instead of using them for the whole block, I just cut some pieces underneath just to sort of mould the shaper sheet over and hold it up. I've made it higher than the shaper sheet was when I first laid it out, but of course that meant that the back was open. So what I had to do, I'll just show you around the back, I had to add some more shaper sheet to the hump. That's why it looks a bit of a mess at the minute. I'm just waiting for that to dry. Now when that's dried I'll have to paint it and basically start again with that bit, but a lot of work still needs doing on this side anyway. As you can see from the bottom, the plaster bandage is shown, and of course all the manoeuvring and that with the piece has knocked scenery off. So I want to recover it, but I've made it even easy for myself. I haven't really got to do too much work because a lot of it's already there. It's just really a pile of earth as far as OO gauge is concerned. It's not particularly high. It's probably twice the height of a diesel, if that, but whereas in OO it would be almost a mountainside, this is a bit of a sort of hummock. It could be where the ground was cleared in front and that's just waste earth, but anyway, that's what I've done so far, and as I said, I've got a bit more work to do on it, and well, that'll be it when I've done that. Then I've got to decide what sort of surface to put on the ground where the digger is, because that's going to be a coal yard type thing. I might put concrete there, because if the digger's going to be scraping along, I'm thinking it probably needs something like concrete or old cobblestones rather than an ash or a gravel base, because I'm not sure, as I said, I don't know what they'd have done prototypically, scraping up coal or any other mineral. Would they have done it on a rough shingle base, mechanically anyway? But there we go, I'll sort that out. But so far I'm quite pleased with the way this is coming along. As I say, I'm just waiting for it to dry and then I can get on with scenery in it. Yeah, that's about it really. I mean, as I said, along the side here I had to put some more plaster bandage there, so I shall make that up with scenery, and I'll probably, to be honest, fill in the gap with a lot of scenery, certainly lower down where I want to cover the bottom of the back scene anyway. So yeah, I'll show you when I've done a little bit more. Right, before I go on and continue building this, I thought I'd just clarify a little bit. I kept mentioning that I'd added more shaper sheet at the back to fill in the gaps. Obviously the original hillside was shaper sheet with plaster bandage on top and then painted and sceneried. What I've done at the back is purely plaster bandage. I didn't need shaper sheet because the shape was already there. I just wanted plaster bandage to fill in the gaps, and in fact if I'd used shaper sheet it probably would have been a lot harder to join up along the edge, or certainly to disguise the join. It's going to be a little bit difficult now anyway, but without a thickness of shaper sheet that would have made it really hard. So all I've done at the back is plaster bandage. So hopefully that clarifies a little bit. I'll continue and show you the next stage. Okay, well, the next stage of preparing the mound for use, as it were, is to cover up the white plaster bandage that I did everywhere I showed you earlier. Obviously any white will show through as easy as anything, so what I've done is I've tried to undercoat every single bit of white, or nearly every bit I can find, mostly the plaster bandage on the other side. You see a bit of it at the top there, and already it's starting to blend in a little bit better. I've used Woodland Scenics Earth Undercoat C1229, which I have used lots of times before, and it's pretty good for soaking into the plaster bandage and, as I say, covering up that white. So once that's dry I'll start using some more Woodland Scenics materials, the different turfs, the different coarseness of turfs, to cover it up. Obviously it might not be completely prototypical, because I doubt whether they'd make a big hump or even cut out original earth and leave it quite so close to the railway line at the back there with such an angle as well. But so I'm not too worried that if it's not slightly prototypical, as long as it does the job. It gives me a little bit of a barrier between going through the back scene, and hopefully it'll look quite good, and it still gives me enough room to do something in front of it here. So as I say, as long as it does those, I think I can forgive myself if it's a little bit too close to the railway at the back. So anyway, I'll do some more work on this as soon as that paint's dried, and show you probably the finished article, hopefully, on the actual mound itself. So I'll see you in a little while. As you can see, I'm busy adding more foliage and covering up the join of the new and the old. I was going to say hillside, but it's really going to be a pile of earth. I guess it could have been a part of an old hill, but as I said before, in O gauge it's not particularly high. At the moment my main concern is covering up the join, and that's coming along quite nicely, and also covering up the actual join where the base meets the baseboard. I'm not too concerned about that at the moment, because I haven't decided what sort of baseboard's going to be there, you know, so I might need to add some more foliage or even take some away. and some of it, like you can see that brown, is still white showing, but I need the glue to dry first because I'm not sure whether that's glue or some of the bandage showing. I think it's glue, but I'll need that all to dry first to see what needs doing and touching up. And the other problem was the back. I sort of briefly hinted at it that it probably wouldn't be that tall and that sharp an edge that close to the track. Obviously one way round it would have made it a rock face, but to be perfectly honest, I didn't see the point in doing that because it really won't get seen that much. Possibly by a camera train at some stage, but which is why I wanted the back finished rather than just leave it open. But other than that, it's not really going to get seen. So if I tried to make a rock face, it seems a little bit pointless, because if I made a rock face and I like the look of it, I'd like it on display, and as I said, no one would ever see it really. The other point is it'd be very, very difficult because it's such a small gap, and it's facing away from you, you can't look at it directly. So I'll stick to what I've done. I've tried to make it a bit of like an earth bank, but with greenery growing on it. Again, I've got the same problem. The glue needs to dry first before I can see what needs touching up. And what I've done is I've tried to sort of hold it together with this light brown foliage, which is the stuff that you cut and spread apart almost like an ivy, and that does very nicely if you spread that part quite thinly and then glue it all down to the side. It sort of puts some greenery on the brown. It's very difficult to let you see it. I mean, there's a bit there, I think. It might need touching up a bit when it's dried. I'll see what needs doing, but I really can't do a lot more until it's dried, and I need to see what needs touching up. I might put a bit more foliage on the top to give it a bit more height, but other than that I'll come back when it's finished. Okay, this is the final part of making this mound of earth. I think it's worked out okay. Obviously you still end up touching it up here and there when perhaps you knock it or something happens when you're spraying the track, etc. But all intents and purposes it's completed, and I'm quite pleased with it really. It's done the job. I'll just show you, I can get behind it to show you. Obviously this is the bit that I was most worried about, but yeah, it's not too bad. It does, as I say, it does the job. I don't know if I can show you without falling over, but yeah, that's that. And the main idea was to hide trains so they weren't sort of blatantly just disappearing in the back scene. This is my control seat where the controls are, and if I look over at that sort of area, I think that trains will easily disappear out the way. And even if I go down the other end and stand up, yeah, I think trains will quite nicely disappear out of sight without just seeming to go into the sky or through a wall or something. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. The next thing I need to do is decide what I'm going to put in front of here. So that may well be another concrete slab all the way along, or I might see if I can get some cobbles, some sheets of plasticard cobbles or something, and see if I can make that along there, weathered old cobbled yard, coal yard. I can still sort of get a bit of manoeuvring about the track to see what angle I need them at. I think the end of that one, the one nearest to me, is going to be shortened a bit. So I'll probably go to Worley on I don't want any particular bargains I'm looking for, so I'll probably go Sunday and have a quieter day. Won't be so many crowds there. There's a few things I need, perhaps some cobbles, plastic hard cobbles, as I say, O gauge, and a few small tools things that I need. So it's mainly to get ideas, I guess, and a few odds and sods, as I say. So there's a little point in going Saturday. It's really busy. So that's about it really, I guess. So thanks for watching. Any questions or comments, please feel free to ask, and subscribe if you wish to see more. But as I say, bye for now.